Hi there, friends, family, and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is Marlene with Building Zion, and I am super excited to be able to do this video, just because it feels like forever since I have been able to do one of these. If you have listened to any of my previous videos or watched them, then you know that we have been in the middle of a move and we are at a little bit of a calmer time right now, getting things all set up and unpacked. Feels good and great. So I've had a little bit of time to be able to put this together. During all of that packing and unpacking and moving and everything, I was also able to listen to a lot of conference talks from April 1972, and so I have Concert of Clarity Part 2 ready here. So I have only included the quotes from the conference, from the different prophets and apostles and the others that spoke. I will not be including any of my own thoughts or words in these because I want the Concert of Clarity to be from them and not my own interjections. I want them to speak for themselves and for you to be able to pull out your own understandings and conclusions. And of course, these are just the things that stood out to me. So please go back. I included all the references for all of the talks. They all came from April and October 1972. Go back and listen to these talks yourselves because you will get things out of them that I did not. And I feel that it is super important that we go back and we listen to and read the words of the prophets from the past because they will give us clarity of the overall picture instead of feeling like, oh my goodness, this is something new that has never been said before, that I've never heard before. Well, maybe we've never heard it because we haven't been listening or reading. But it's been there, and it will help give us that overall picture. If I can make a little analogy to me being an artist, if you think of God's work as a huge painting, then each time one of the prophets speaks, he's adding a brush stroke to that painting. And so each brush stroke that we take in will give us full clarity as to what the full picture is and the full understanding of what is going on now in our day and what we need to do. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to say? Oh yes, so this right here, this paper will be posted on my blog, which is, it will be down in the link. It's buildingzionlds.blogspot.com. I believe that's right, but it will be down in the link in case I got it wrong. Okay, so without further ado, Concert of Clarity, Part 2. The first one comes from a talk given by President Joseph Fielding Smith titled Counsel to the Saints and to the World. It is the will of the Lord to strengthen and preserve the family unit. We plead with fathers to take their rightful place as the head of the house. We ask mothers to sustain and support their husbands and to be lights to their children. President Joseph F. Smith said, "Motherhood lies at the foundation of happiness in the home and of prosperity in the nation. God has laid upon men and women very sacred obligations with respect to motherhood, and they are obligations that cannot be disregarded without invoking divine displeasure. Also, to be a successful father or a successful mother is greater than to be a successful general or a successful statesman." Then from Ezra Taft Benson, talk titled Civic Standards for the Faithful Saints. This one is the longest quote of in this whole paper, this whole video. All right. King Cyrus lived more than 500 years before Christ and figured in prophecies of the Old Testament mentioned in 2nd Chronicles and the book of Ezra, and by the prophets Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Daniel. The Bible states how the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia. Cyrus restored certain political and social rights to the captive Hebrews, gave them permission to return to Jerusalem, and directed that Jehovah's temple should be rebuilt. Parley P. Pratt, in describing the prophet Joseph Smith, said that he had the boldness, courage, temperance, perseverance, and generosity of a Cyrus. President J. Reuben Clark, Jr. put it well when he said, quote, "God provided that in this land of liberty our personal allegiance shall run not to individuals, that is, to government officials, no matter how great or how small they may be. Under his plan, our alliance, and the only alliances we owe as citizens or denizens," that's a new word to me, denizens of the United States, runs to our inspired Constitution which God himself set up. So runs the oath of office of those who participate in government. A certain loyalty we do owe to the office which a man holds, but even here we owe just by reason of our citizenship, no loyalty to the man himself. In other countries, it is to the individual that alliance runs. This principle of alliance to the Constitution is basic to our freedom. It is one of the great principles that distinguishes this land of liberty from other countries. Patriotism, said Theodore Roosevelt, means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any other public official save exactly to the degree in which he himself stands by the country. Every man, said President Roosevelt, who parrots the cry of "stand by the president" without adding the proviso, "far as he serves the Republic," takes an attitude as essentially unmanly as that of any Stuart royalist who championed the doctrine that the king could do no wrong. No self-respecting and intelligent free man could take such an attitude. And yet, as Latter-day Saints, we should pray for our civic leaders and encourage them to righteousness. To vote for wicked men, it would be a sin, said Hyrum Smith. And the prophet Joseph Smith said, "Let the people of the whole Union, like the inflexible Romans, whenever they find a promise made by a candidate that is not practiced as an officer, hurl the miserable sycophant from his exaltation." Joseph and Hyrum's trust did not run to the arm of flesh, but to God and correct eternal principles. "I am the greatest advocate of the Constitution of the United States there is on the earth," said the prophet Joseph Smith. The warning of the President Joseph Fielding Smith is mostly timely. Now I tell you, it is time the people of the United States were waking up with the understanding that if they don't save the Constitution from the dangers that threaten it, we will have a change of government. Joseph Smith said that the Book of Mormon was the keystone of our religion and the most correct book on earth. This most correct book on earth states that the downfall of two great American civilizations came as a result of secret conspiracies whose desire was to overthrow the freedom of the people, and they have caused the destruction of this people of whom I am now speaking, says Moroni, and also the destruction of the people of Nephi. Now, undoubtedly, Moroni could have pointed out many factors that led to the destruction of the people. But notice how he singled out the secret combinations, just as the church today could point out many threats to peace, prosperity, and the spread of God's work, but it has singled out the great threat as the godless conspiracy. There is no conspiracy theory in the Book of Mormon. It is conspiracy fact. Then Moroni speaks to us in this day and says, "Therefore the Lord commandeth you, When ye shall see these things come among you, that ye shall wake to a sense of your awful situation because of this secret combination which shall be among you. The Book of Mormon further warns that whatsoever nation shall uphold such secret combinations to get power and gain, until they shall spread over the nation, behold, they shall be destroyed. Now we are assured that the church will remain on the earth until the Lord comes again. But at what price? The saints in the early days were assured that Zion would be established in Jackson County, but look at what their unfaithfulness cost them in bloodshed and delay. President Clark warned us that we stand in danger of losing our liberties, and that once lost, only blood will bring them back. And once lost, we of this church will, in order to keep the church going forward, have more sacrifices to make and more persecutions to endure than we have yet known. And he stated that if the conspiracy comes here, it will probably come in its full vigor, and there will be a lot of vacant places among those who guide and direct, not only this government, but also this church of ours. Said Brigham Young, I am more afraid that this people have so much confidence in their leaders that they will not inquire for themselves of God whether they are led by him. Let every man and woman know by the whisperings of the Spirit of God to themselves whether their leaders are walking in the path the Lord dictates or not. We need the constant guidance of the Spirit. We live in an age of deceit. O my people, said Isaiah in the Book of Mormon, they who lead thee cause thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. Even within the church we have been warned that the ravening wolves are amongst us from our own membership, and they, more than any other, are clothed in sheep's clothing because they wear the habiliments of the priesthood. The Lord holds us accountable if we are not wise and are deceived. For they that are wise, he said, and have received the truth, and have taken the Holy Spirit for their guide, and have not been deceived, verily I say unto you, they shall not be hewn down and cast into the fire, but shall abide the day. Close quote. All right, the next one comes from N. Eldon Tanner, Elder, I should put that in. Elder N. Eldon Tanner, judge not that you be not judged. Quote, it is not possible to judge another fairly unless you know his desires, his faith, and his goals. Because of a different environment, unequal opportunity, and many other things, people are not in the same position. One may start at the top and the other at the bottom, and they may meet as they are going in opposite directions. Someone has said that it is not where you are, but the direction in which you are going that counts. Not how close you are to failure or success, but which way you are headed. How can we, with all our weakness and frailties, dare to arrogate to ourselves the position of a judge? At best, man can judge only what he sees. He cannot judge the heart or the intention, or begin to judge the potential of his neighbor. Our news media today also seem to be interested mainly in controversial subjects or someone who is being attacked, and regardless of the 99 good things one may do, it is the one weakness or error that alone is emphasized and heralded to the world. We are too prone to listen, accept, and repeat such adverse criticism, such maliciously spoken or printed words without stopping to realize the harm we may be doing to some noble person. And as is done so often, we excuse and justify ourselves by saying, well, where there is so much smoke, there must be some fire. Whereas in reality, we are adding to the smoke when the fire referred to may be only the fire of malice started by some envious person. Close quote. All right, then we have by Elder Marvin J. Ashton. What is your destination? Quote, what is your destination? Have you arrived when you go to the temple? Is temple marriage your destination? Over the years, I have heard hundreds of my young associates say, I want to make the temple. A temple marriage is my goal. I humbly bear witness to you today that an honorably completed mission, celestial marriage, a valued testimony, a position of major responsibility in the church are not destinations in the lives of true Latter-day Saints. They can be important aids in eternal progression. They will not save you and me in the kingdom of God. Only living the life of the faithful Latter-day Saint will make that possible. Close quote. Okay, then by Hartman J. Rector of the Quorum of the 70, Our Witness to the World. Quote, we are Christians. We want the whole world to know that we are. Sometimes we are accused of not being Christians, but such is not the case. In the words of the great prophet Nephi, we talk of Christ, we rejoice in Christ, we preach of Christ, we prophesy of Christ, and we write according to our prophecies, that our children may know to what source they may look for remission of their sins. We look to Christ as the author and finisher of our faith. He is our Redeemer. Close quote. All right, then Elder Theodore M. Burton, assistant to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, gave his talk, Salvation and Exaltation. Quote, as I listened to the radio a few days ago, I heard a minister tell his listeners, confess Christ and you shall be saved. Admit Christ into your heart and he will save you. Then he quoted Ephesians 2:8 for his clinching argument, for by grace ye are saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God. Then he gave his final advice. Is this too much to ask of you? Thousands and hundreds of thousands have found lasting peace and happiness by accepting Christ as their Savior. Join with us in Christian faith and you shall be saved. I wonder how many people have been lulled into a false sense of security by such teaching. As a missionary knocking at the doors of people, I had literally hundreds of people tell me that they were not interested in learning more about Jesus Christ, for they were already saved. The shocking thing about this is that they were right. What that minister said was true, but the difficulty is that it was not the whole truth. I am personally concerned about this problem because I realize how much damage partial truth can do. Limited knowledge is a dangerous thing. What we need is more truth, unlimited truth, until finally we know all things. Close quote. Oh, excuse my dogs. I think someone maybe is at my door. Okay. Yeah, I got people coming in the door. Hey. Okay, the next one comes from President Joseph Fielding Smith, called Eternal Keys and the Right to Preside. Quote, now, brethren, I think there is one thing which we should have exceedingly clear in our minds. Neither the President of the Church, nor the First Presidency, nor the united voice of the First Presidency and the 12 will ever lead the saints astray or send forth counsel to the world that is contrary to the mind and will of the Lord. An individual may fall by the wayside or have views or give counsel which fall short of what the Lord intends. But the voice of the First Presidency and the united voice of those others who hold with them the keys of the kingdom shall always guide the saints and the world in those paths where the Lord wants them to be. Close quote. Okay, and then we have one by President Howard W. Hunter called A Teacher. Quote, observing the clock, I fold the notes that I have prepared and place them in my inside pocket. But let me take just a moment to mention a little incident that made an impression upon me when I was a boy. This came to my mind when it was mentioned that there are that there are with us this afternoon a large group of dedicated people who teach our youth. It was on a summer day early in the morning. I was standing near the window. The curtains obstructed me from two little creatures out on the lawn. One was a large bird and the other a little bird, obviously just out of the nest. I saw the larger bird hop out on the lawn, then thump his feet and cock his head. He drew a big fat worm out of the lawn and came hopping back. The little bird opened his bill wide, but the big bird swallowed the worm. Then I saw the big bird fly up into a tree. He pecked at the bark for a little while and came back with a big bug in his mouth. The little bird opened his beak wide, but the big bird swallowed the bug. There was squawking in protest. The big bird flew away, and I didn't see it again, but I watched the little bird. After a while, the little bird hopped out onto the lawn, thumped its feet, cocked its head, and pulled a big worm out of the lawn. God bless the good people who teach our children and our youth. I humbly pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, then, given by President Harold B. Lee, The Strength of the Priesthood. Quote, "It was just after the war. Things were tense. We were at one of the upper camps where the planes could take off, and within half an hour they could be over the Russian side. We were holding a noon meeting with our servicemen. They called on a young man to speak first. He announced his text from the prayer of the Master when he prayed for his disciples. Quote, 'I pray not that thou shouldst take them, my disciples, out of the world, but that thou shouldst keep them from evil.' Close quote. Then this lad delivered one of the finest talks on chastity that I have ever heard. He closed by saying, 'Rather than lose my virtue, I would die and have my body sent home in a pine box, and my dog tags follow after.'" There was a hush over the audience of servicemen, and then he bore his testimony, and as he started to leave the pulpit, he stumbled and fell, draped over the pulpit. We lifted him off the pulpit and worked with him until he was revived, and then took him down to the audience. As they carried him down, the mission president said to me, "I wonder if he has a bad heart." And I said, "You know, I have had a feeling that there is something quarreling inside of him against what he has been saying to us." When it came my turn to speak, I said to him, "Now, my boy, you have made a profound impression upon all of us. You have said you would rather die than lose your virtue. But remember, the devil heard you, as we heard you. And if I don't miss my guess, he is going to make you prove that you would give your life before you would lose your virtue. You had better be on guard." I want to talk about another thing. As we study the various activities like family home evening and the activities pertaining to temple marriage, home teaching, and whatnot, we have discovered that we never make any headway by mere exhortation and trying to pressure people into holding home evenings or home teaching. We are discovering that the only way to get home teaching over or to get family home evening going or attendance at sacrament meeting or to have more temple marriages or temple attendance is to make sure that the holder of the priesthood in the home magnifies his priesthood, and until he can realize the importance of the priesthood of God, which gives him the power of Almighty God to act through him, the home is not going to be secure. Now I want to impress this upon you. Someone has said it in this way, and I believe it to be absolutely true. That person is not truly converted until he sees the power of God resting upon the leaders of this church, and until he goes down it goes down into his heart like fire. Until the members of the church have that conviction that they are being led in the right way, and that they have a conviction that these men of God are men who are inspired and have been properly appointed by the hand of God, they are not truly converted. Close quote. Okay, this is another one given by President Harold B. Lee called A Time of Decision. Quote, "This year is again a most important year of decision for our day. Some have even said that this is a most critical period in the history of this nation and of this world. I believe it is an illusion to say that this is the most critical, decisive time. Write it upon the hearts of all of us that every dispensation has been just as decisive, and likewise that every year has been the most decisive year and time for ourselves, for this nation, and for the world. This is our day and time when honorable men must be brought forward to meet the tremendous challenges before us." Close quote. All right, by Elder Marion D. Hanks of the Quorum of the 70, Joy Through Christ. Quote, "Material objectives consume too many of our attention. The struggle for what we need or for more than we need exhausts our time and energy. We pursue pleasure or entertainment, or become over-involved in associations or civic matters. Of course, people need recreation, need to be achieving, need to contribute, but if these come at the cost of friendship with Christ, the price is much too high." Close quote. By Elder David B. Haight, A Foundation Whereon Men Cannot Fall. Quote, "Years ago, President Joseph F. Smith gave us an answer and a promise when he said, quote, 'If you will gather your children around you once a week and instruct them in the gospel, they will not go astray.'" Close quote. By Elder Boyd K. Packer, Why Stay Morally Clean. Quote, "I approach the subject with deepest reverence. This may surprise some, for this subject is the most talked about, sung about, and joked about of any subject. Almost always it is talked about immodestly. I intend to sustained modesty, not to offend it, as I venture to speak on this delicate subject. Much of the happiness that may come to you in this life will depend on how you use the sacred power of creation. The fact that you young men can become fathers and that you young women can become mothers is of utmost importance to you. As this power develops within you, it will prompt you in the search for a companion and empower you to love and to hold him. It was necessary that this power of creation have at least two dimensions. One, it must be strong, and two, it must be more or less consistent. This power must be strong, for most men by nature seek adventure. Except for the compelling persuasion of these feelings, men would be reluctant to accept the responsibility of sustaining a home and a family. This power must be constant too, for it becomes a binding tie in family life. You are old enough, I think, to look around you in the animal kingdom. You soon realize that where the power of creation is a fleeting thing, where it expresses itself only in season, there is no family life." Close quote. Okay, by Elder Eldred G. Smith, Patriarch to the Church, his talk entitled Peace. Quote, "How is it that we have not discovered the secret of peace when we have been looking for it all through the ages? I'll tell you, we are looking for someone to create it for us, to bring it to us." Edna St. Vincent Millay said, "There is no peace on earth today save the peace in the heart at a home with God. I think I said that wrong. There is no peace on earth today save the peace in the heart at home with God. No man can be at peace with his neighbor who is not at peace with himself. Close quote. Okay, given by Sterling W. Seal of the Quorum of the 70, Medicine for the Soul. Quote, our present state of malnutrition is not because of any famine or bread nor a thirst for water, but it is for the hearing and the obeying of the word of the Lord. That is, our many soul deaths do not occur because a remedy is not available. It is only because we are failing to take that medicine which has already been provided and has already proven its effectiveness. Close quote. All right, so these then come from the October 1972 session. And I want to add here that April 1972 was the last conference that President Joseph Fielding Smith attended. He passed away in between. And starting in October 1972, Harold B. Lee became president of the church. So this first quote is by President Harold B. Lee in his talk, May the Kingdom of God Go Forth. Quote, now I stood alone with my thoughts. Somehow the impressions that came to me were simply that the only true record that will ever be made of my service in my new calling will be the record that I may have written in the hearts and lives of those whom I have served and labored, within and without the church. Close quote. Given by Elder Ray L. Christensen, assistant to the Quorum of the 12, we have made covenants with the Lord. Quote, President Joseph F. Smith reminded us that we cannot neglect, sight, or depart from the Spirit. We cannot neglect, slight, or depart from the Spirit, meaning, intent, and purpose of these covenants, that we have entered it into with our Father in heaven without shearing or depriving ourselves of our glory, strength, right, and title to his blessings and to the gifts and manifestations of the Spirit. For God surely will not be mocked. Close quote. By Elder Theodore M. Burton of the Quorum of the 70 in his talk, Genealogy, a Personal Responsibility. Quote, Priesthood genealogy is an exciting, living, vital program involving the whole family. Elijah came to turn the hearts of the children to their parents and the parents to their children. So priesthood genealogy and temple work is a family affair, a total family program involving children, youth, and parents. We ought to change our attitudes toward priesthood genealogy and realize that the real impact of this program converges on each individual member of the church. Close quote. By President Harold B. Lee, Teach the Gospel of Salvation. Quote, my experience has taught me, and it has become a principle with me, that it is never any benefit to give out and out to man or woman money, food, clothing, or anything else if they are able-bodied and can work and earn what they need, where there is anything on the earth for them to do. This is my principle, and I try to act upon it. To pursue a contrary course would ruin any community in the world and make them idlers. And that was actually given by President Brigham Young from the Discourses of Brigham Young. Okay, this is given by President Gordon B. Hinckley. Watch the switches in your life. Quote, therefore, be smart. The Lord has blessed each of you with greater capacity than you realize. Your IQ may not be the highest in the world. So what? Our jails are filled with clever men who were anything but smart. I have concluded that the work of the world is not done by intellectual geniuses. It is done by men of ordinary capacity who use their abilities in an extraordinary manner. As a member of this church, you have the obligation to seek learning and to improve your skills. It matters not whether you choose to be merchant, teacher, carpenter, plumber, mechanic, doctor, or to follow any other honorable vocation. The important thing is that you qualify to be useful workers in society. It is so easy and so tragic to become a drifter, a dropout. It is so challenging and so satisfying to be a producer. In so doing, you will bless not only your own lives and the lives of those you serve, but you will also bring honor to and respect for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For your identity as a Mormon will be recognized, and the image of the church will be improved by reason of the opinion which others have of you and as you serve them. You cannot afford ever to do cheap or shoddy work. You bear the priesthood of God. Be clean. Be ye clean that you bear the vessels of the Lord. Be ye clean that handle and administer the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. With President Lee, we recently stood in the Garden of Gethsemane in Jerusalem, where in agony the Lord foresaw the terrible suffering he must endure. Suffering so intense that it caused even the Son of God to bleed at every pore. There he was mocked and betrayed and delivered into the hands of wicked men. My dear young friends, do we not mock him anew if we come to the sacrament table with unclean hands and impure hearts, as we administer the emblems of his sacrifice? Be clean, for the sake of your posterity. Some day each of you will meet the girl of your dreams. If you truly love her, you would rather cut off your right arm than hurt her. Never lose sight of the fact that you are the line through which will pass the qualities of your forebears to the posterity who will come after you. Pause and think. Will those qualities be diminished or enhanced because of your behavior? Be clean, and your strength will be as the strength of 10, because your heart is pure. Close quote. All right, another one by President Harold B. Lee, Admonitions for the Priesthood of God. Quote, I want to warn this great body of priesthood against the great sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, which has been labeled as a sin second only in seriousness to the sin of murder. I speak of the sin of adultery, which, as you know, was the name used by the Master as he referred to unlicensed sexual sins of fornication as well as adultery. And besides this, the equally grievous sin of homosexuality, which seems to be gaining momentum with social acceptance in the Babylon of the world, of which church members must not be a part. While we are in the world, we must not be of the world. Any attempts being made by the schools or places of entertainment to flaunt sexual perversions which can do nothing but excite to experimentation must find among the priesthood in this church a vigorous and unrelenting defense through every lawful means that can be deployed. One more matter. There are among us many loose writings predicting the calamities which are about to overtake us. Some of these have been publicized as though they were necessary to wake up the world to the horrors about to overtake us. Many of these are from sources upon which there cannot be unquestioned reliance. Are you priesthood bearers aware of the fact that we need no such publications to be forewarned? If we were only conversant with what the scriptures have already spoken to us in plainness? Now, just one final thought. I sat in a class in Sunday school in my own ward one day, and the teacher was the son of a patriarch. He said he used to take down the blessings of his father, and he noticed that his father gave what he called iffy blessings. He would give a blessing, but it was predicated on if you will not do this, or if you will cease doing that. And he said, I watched these men to whom my father would give iffy blessings, and I saw that many of them did not heed the warning that my father, as a patriarch, had given, and the blessings were never received because they did not comply. You know, this started me thinking. I went back into the Doctrine and Covenants and began to read the iffy revelations that have been given to the various brethren in the church. If you want to have an exercise in something that will startle you, read some of the warnings that were given through the prophet Joseph Smith to Thomas B. Marsh, Martin Harris, and some of the Whitmer brothers, William E. McClellan, warnings which, had they heeded, some would not have fallen by the wayside. But because they did not heed, and they didn't clear up their lives, they fell by the wayside, and some had to be dropped from membership in the church. The trouble with us today, there are too many of us who put question marks instead of periods after what the Lord said. I want you to think about that. We shouldn't be concerned about why he said something or whether or not it can be made so. Just trust in the Lord. We don't try to find the answers or explanations. Please forgive my shortcomings in reading. We don't try to find the answers or explanations. We shouldn't try to spend time explaining what the Lord didn't see fit to explain. We spend useless time. If you would teach our people to put periods and not question marks after what the Lord has declared, we would say, it is enough for me to know that is what the Lord said. Close quote. Brothers and sisters, how do I express the testifying spirit through these men's words that comes to me in knowing that they knew their Savior and they were testifying of Him, and they were testifying to us, not just in 1972, they're testifying to us today, and that these words were just as much for them 50 years ago as they are for us today, which means that those from the time of Prophet Joseph Smith and Brigham Young were not only for them, but were for us today. And those from the words from the Book of Mormon were not only for them, but were for us today. And the more we come to understand their words, the more clearer we will see the full painting, the more clearer we will hear the whole concert, and it will make sense to us. We won't be confused. It will make sense to us, and we will know what to do. The Spirit will testify to us what it is that we need to do in our lives. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.